Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we will be talking about strings and characters in Java. A string is a group of characters, and a character can be any key on the keyboard. Even escape character is a character, and pretty much anything you can see on the screen as text is a character. Emojis are also characters, but we don't really count them as characters because they technically take two characters to make one emoji. But let's start off simple. A character is a single key you can type on the keyboard. So let's delete this. And a character is defined with the keyword char for character. Then we have a variable name, so we can call it letter, and then equals, and then our character is enclosed in single quotes. We can say E is our letter, for example. That's how the definition works, and we can also split up our declaration and definition into two separate lines, saying char letter and then saying letter equals E. This is also valid. And to print out a character, we do system.out.printf, and in double quotes we put %C. C stands for character, and then we put our variable name afterwards, letter. And then we put our semicolon at the end, and then we can save. Or first, let me put the \n to make it look nice when we print it. And when we run it, we will see in the output, we will see the E in our output. So that's how we can print out a character. And if we wanted to print out the same character twice, we could put in another %C, and we could put in another letter variable. We can reuse the variable as many times as we want, and then we can run this, and we will see EE at the bottom. And we can even put the definition in one line and just say char letter equals E, and we will still get the same thing. We will get EE at the bottom. We can also have an escape character, so we can do char letter is \n. And what we will see is the first %C will be a \n, and then the second %C will be another \n. So what you should see is a blank line, and then another line, and then build successful. So let's run this and see. Yeah, we see a blank line first, and then another blank line, and then we see a third blank line because of this \n. So we see 3 blank lines, and then we see build successful at the end. And if we take this ending \n out, and then we run it, we'll see 2 blank lines. 2 blank lines down here. So those are characters. We can put escape characters. Characters by themselves, it's pretty hard to write out all the characters one by one. So we have another data type, which is called a string. A string is a group of characters. We can say string word equals, and strings are in double quotes. So we can say words. And then to print out a string, we can do system.out.printf. And our format for string is %s. And then we can put our variable in word, and then put a semicolon at the end. And I'll put a \n here. And then we can run this, and then we see words down here. So we were able to print out a string, but notice over here that this is enclosed in double quotes. This is a string. So what we can do is we can remove this and then just have our string inside the parentheses. Since the string is defined here, as words, and what we originally had inside the printf was the double quotes, we can just have something with our double quotes go inside here. Now, if we run this, we'll see the build successful on the same line because we didn't put a \n in our string. So if we run this, we will see words with build successful on the same line. In a string, we can also put in escape characters. So if we run this, we will see words here and then a \n. So the build successful is on the next line. Now we can also put in format characters in our string. So let's say instead of words, we wanted to put word and then have a character. We wanted a character called letter, and we want that to be equal to s. Remember, characters are in single quotes, whereas strings are in double quotes. So if we had a letter variable that was a character, and we set that equal to s, and we wanted that s to go inside, in between the d and the \n, if we wanted to put our s here, we could put a %c right here. So now we have word, which is our string. Our string is word %c \n. So because we have a %c in our string, we can put letter over here because this word will get replaced with this. Now, because it'll be replaced, it will look for a %c format character. Now that %c format character in here will look for letter, which would be the s. So this s in letter will get inserted into this %c here in word. So what we should see is words \n. If we save this and run it, we should see words \n, which we do see down here. Now this might have been a little bit complicated, but let's break it down slowly. We have word %c \n. Let's ignore the \n part for now, because this is just a new line. So really what we have is word %c, which is word. Now this word right here will get replaced with word %c. It's like having word %c over here. It's pretty much the same thing as word %c \n. Now this kind of makes more sense. We have word, and then we have %c over here. Now this %c is letter, because the letter is equal to s, which is a character. So this %c will get replaced by the letter, which is s, and then it'll put a \n at the end. So instead of saying words %c \n, instead of putting this whole thing in double quotes right here, we can set a string variable word, which is equal to word %c \n. So instead of rewriting this whole thing, we can just put the variable for it, which is word. So string word will be over here, and this thing in double quotes will replace the word variable. And if we save this, we should see words \n. So what is the point of all this? Learning strings, characters, and in the previous video, we learned about integers and floating point types. What's the point of all this? Well, variables are how we store information, and from here you could see that word, we could put in other escape characters in here. Variables store information for us so that we can use them later. Variables will only last for the length of the program, meaning that if you were to run this You wouldn't be able to go into your hard drive and find this stored somewhere. All variables are stored in RAM, which is your random access memory, which means that as soon as the program finishes, you won't be able to see the values of these variables anymore. These variables won't exist anywhere in your hard drive. They'll be gone. Why do we use variables if they're just going to be gone? We can't even save them in our hard drive, so what's the point? Well, the point is that we need to use some variables in the meantime to help with whatever we're trying to do at the end. Like right here, we just ran it and it said words down here. This isn't stored anywhere. This is a byproduct of what we've created in our program. We've defined a string, we've defined a character, and then we've printed it out. So Java will follow these instructions and print it out, but it won't save it anywhere. In order to save something in your hard drive, we use files. We can save stuff to files, but that is a topic for another video. For now, we're just storing variables and printing them out. What good is that? Well, in the next video, we will learn about operations you can do on variables. We will talk about operations you can do on numbers, which are the basic adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, but there are certain rules to those. And with strings and characters, we can add them, we can subtract them, we can do a lot of things with characters. Strings are a special type of data type called objects. So we won't really be able to do anything with them for now. We can add them and we'll show how that works in the next video. But in order to really understand the power of a string, we'll need to know objects. So in the next video, we will talk about operations on data types. And before we leave for today, there's one more data type that's very simple. We have a simple yes, no, true, false data type. It can only be true or false. That's the only thing you can set it to. This data type is called a Boolean, and we define it with the keyword Boolean. Boolean, and then we can give a name to our variable. Boolean var equals, and then it can either be true, or we can set it equal to false. Those are the only things we can set a Boolean equal to. And how we print this out is system.out.printf, and then the format character for Boolean is %b, b for Boolean, and then we can put our variable var, and then we can put our semicolon at the end. So %b is Boolean. It's either false or true. And we will see down here that it says false. But if we set this equal to true up here, true, and let me put a backslash n so we can see it better, we will see that it says true. Now you might be thinking that this is a string, but this is not a string. This is actually a different data type called a Boolean. A string, we would be able to put anything over here, but we can't. We can only put true or false. And even though we see it print out as true and false, it doesn't mean that it's a string. Java prints it out as true and false so that we can see it better. But what's happening behind the scenes is that it's actually just on or off. It's switching a value either on or off, true or false. It's not storing true. It's just storing yes or no, true or false, which is usually a 0 or a 1. So Boolean is either true or false. It's not a string, just a true or false value. Even though we see it print out true at the bottom, it's not a string. It's its own data type. If we tried to say something like true, then you'd get an error right here. It says an incompatible type. A string cannot be converted to a Boolean. So it is not a string. It has a value of true. And you notice how true gets highlighted in blue. This is a special keyword for Boolean. True, and same with false. False gets highlighted in blue. It's a special keyword for Boolean. In the next video, we will be talking about operations and applications on data types. So then we will actually be able to see why we're doing all of this. What is the point of having variables?